Good morning everybody, my name is Shelby and welcome to my channel as well as my garden. So what we're doing today is like a big garden refresher. For us in zone 9A, 9B, we are definitely entering like the very warm season, the pest season, and spring is like, it's gone. Spring's long gone, not going to happen again until next year basically. So summer is supposed to be kicking in here, I guess, in a few days. Either it's officially summer or it's going to happen in a few days. I know tomorrow's Memorial Day. I don't know the exact first day of summer. So with that said, we have a lot of different like crops and vegetation that is just like, it's looking super sad, and there's just a big refresher that needs to happen. I feel at this point, keeping some of these crops like my squash and things like that in there, it's inviting more pest and disease than what it's worth to have a few extra squash, like by keeping those plants in there. So I'm gonna get rid of things that aren't looking very healthy, resow some new seeds so that we can invite some healthy plants that can hopefully withstand this summer season that we're about to approach. So my squash plants definitely have a lot of different disease and things like that going on right now. Powdery mildew, and I had seen some squash vine borers eyeing a lot of the squash. So right now it's like they're not even producing that much. It's just not worth it to keep them in here. Like, look at how sad that plant is. And I just want to plant some new stuff. I'm definitely not planting squash in the same bed because the squash vine borers already know that squash was here, and they could have already laid their seeds, or they could have already laid their eggs to destroy like a new crop. So if you are starting a new squash crop, I would definitely recommend you plant them in a different spot. Don't plant them in the same spot going into the summer season right now. Found two little squash. So I had left, oh God. Oh, that's gross. Okay, so I had left the squash on here to go to seed, and I just touched it and it's like squishy, so I'm not even gonna mess around with that. And if you have plants that you are getting rid of because they've just, you know, they're old, they've run their course, it's important to note that you don't want to compost plants that have disease on them. So if you're planning on putting these old plants in your compost bin, definitely make sure that they don't have any type of disease or fungus on them, because that can spread to other plants or just continue to cycle, basically. All right, we're doing pretty good here. So my Swiss chard is looking really happy. Of course, I'm leaving that alone. We can still enjoy that for quite some time. I got rid of all my squash plants, which is opening up a good amount of space for a different crop. Maybe carrots, maybe something like that, I don't know. And then now my celery can start to thrive more. I actually already have celery over here that is going to seed, which is really interesting. I don't know anything about growing celery. I didn't realize that they could go to seed that quickly. So we've got to start enjoying our celery. So to a certain degree, every one of my tomato plants right now is experiencing a level of blight or some type of like disease, something. And I'm pretty sure it's because we had really heavy rains for like 3 or 4 days straight. Like, I'm talking waterfall, like monsoon levels of rain, and for days on end where the beds didn't get to like fully dry out or anything like that. And I saw, you know, some kind of like green type fungus growing around the soil areas. So all of the tomato plants really took a hit as a result of that. They're pretty unhappy, which, you know, that's to be expected. Their roots are probably just oversaturated with water right now. So you're probably going to see that, see right there, just not a happy plant at all. One day everything was like really green and nice, like in one of my last harvest videos, and literally the next day I came out here after a super heavy rain and we started to see the browning, the leaves curling up, and just sickness through all of the tomato plants. So if you're experiencing that too, just know that it's not necessarily your fault. You're not a bad gardener or anything like that. In some cases, it can just be, you know, Mother Nature and, you know, too much water. This dill I've allowed to hang around here for a really long time, and it went to seed. I actually wanted it to just kind of like have its seeds go in random places, and the bed behind this bed has a lot of new dill plants, so it's done its job. I feel like you can't have too much dill in the garden. Obviously, most people don't want to eat that much dill, which it is a wonderful herb, but for me, it's really awesome for the pollinators, and it's always a welcome plant in our garden. So if it's going to, you know, be a plant that's going to spread too many of its seeds, I will definitely allow dill to do that. My cucumber plants, although we still have like, this is a perfectly good cucumber right now. There's nothing wrong with this one. Definitely going to save this. Although it's still shooting out some cucumbers, to me it's not in my best interest to keep this unhealthy plant that's just kind of like hanging on. I want to plant a new plant or a new variety of cucumbers in here that's healthy and rejuvenated. So, you know, that's kind of, it's time to go. It's time to go. I don't want to hurt my, I've got beets in here. I don't want to hurt them. So I'm just gonna do my best. I'm not the most graceful gardener all the time. Most of the time, I'm not a very gentle gardener. So these, for me, like every year, it's like cucumbers are hit and miss. You know, what year are we going to get them or not? And this year we got a lot of cucumbers. We were able to enjoy, you know, in salads many times in a row. We were able to enjoy pickling them, and we still have jars of pickles. So I feel like this has been a really successful harvest for us, for cucumbers. So if this is, and then going into summer, it's really hard to get another crop of cucumbers because it's so hot. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't going to give it a try again, you know. If you are a first-time gardener, I would love to hear from you. You know, if you're watching this and you've got questions or ideas, I would definitely love to hear from you guys and hear what you're planning on growing or intimidated by growing. You know, I was a first-time gardener not too many years ago, you know, and it's such a cool path to go down, especially with all of like the food, you know, prices and things like that right now. Having your own food security is like the best feeling ever. It really is such an amazing feeling right now. I'm gonna put this in my pile of plants. Some of the stuff that needs to be done today, I'll need 2 sets of hands for, like trellising tomato plants that should have been trellised a long time ago. And but what I wanted to show you guys is I need to get to harvesting these black beans because they're all, there's loaded with pods of black beans right there. So I'm going to do a whole video on that, just harvesting, shelling, and preserving my black beans. Very exciting stuff to have so many of them. I wonder how much I'm going to get from this bed that's like 4 feet by, I think it's about 6 feet, and it's completely loaded with only black bean crops. So I'm really interested to see, like, for this amount of square footage of a bed, how much black beans do you get? Like, is it worth the 90 days of it being in there for the yield that we'll get in return if it's only like 2 meals of black beans? So, you know, that's something you kind of have to decide once you start picking out your crops and in your garden. What is worth, like, the real estate in your garden, basically? What's going to give you the most return? Or if it's something that just, like, you know, makes your heart happy, then it would always be worth the real estate, even if it's just flowers or something like that. This whole bed needs to be refreshed and cleaned up. Yes, there are some bean plants in here. I'm going to save the beans from them. We've got some weeds in here. All of my beds always have like a problem with grass in them. I don't know why. There's really nothing I feel like I can do. I've tried to put like some cardboard down to suffocate the weeds and the grass, but I feel like the grass is just like determined to continue to come back. Even though these beds are so tall, they've just made their way and found a home in my beds. And I'm just gonna try to trellis up these tomato plants that are just going nuts right now. Take out some of these bean plants that are just taking up space right now, and save the beans that are worth saving, because this whole bed has kind of been a mess from the beginning. There wasn't really like a clear plan for this bed. Well, there was originally, but there wasn't good water, like it didn't get enough water, and everything in it just kind of like suffered and didn't do that good. So basically I've got like a big sunflower in here and 2 tomato plants, which that's not too bad. I'd just like the middle part to be also getting vegetables growing in it too. So what I always tell myself to like keep up with the weeds is every time you walk out to the garden, pull at least 30 different weeds. Just if you're coming out to just take a look or grab some tomatoes or whatever, just every time you come out here, pull 30 weeds. And in my mind, I feel like that's gonna, you know, help with, you know, a long weeding project. Basically, you're just kind of maintaining things. This is a huge garden. We've got like over 20 beds in this garden, on top of the like no dig, no till, like in ground rows, you know. So if I don't do a little bit at a time, you know, pull my 30 weeds every single time I walk out here, then it's gonna end up being like an 8-hour garden project, basically. Which, I mean, regardless, there's always gonna be like 8 hours worth of stuff to do out here. But as a new mom, well, as a mom again, second time around, to a toddler and a newborn, I don't have a lot of opportunities to get out here. I get like, you know, 1-2 hour stretches at a time out here. So I've got to really be strategic when I'm out here and not spend all my time pulling weeds, is what I'm saying. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with a big old mess garden bed like this one and have to spend, you know, a lot of time on cleaning it up, which is not what I want to do. So do a little bit at a time. Don't let it get overwhelming. Gardening is supposed to be, you know, fun and therapeutic, and it's not supposed to be a source of stress. It's supposed to be something that's relieving your stress and feeding your body and your family and providing, you know, health benefits. So if it's starting to get too stressful and out of control, just start micro gardening basically instead, or just scale back for a season and then revisit the next season. Take a break if you need to. You know, it's really easy to get really excited about some of these things and just kind of go all in, and I've got that type of personality where I want to just like go all in and just start a farm like right away type of thing. But you do have to take certain steps to ensure that everything's going to be taken care of to the best capacity, and you're not spreading yourself thin, and allow time for learning as well. I'm hoping that my cabbage goes to seed. That's why I've kept some heads of cabbage in here. We'll see. I've never had cabbage go to seed. I've never grown it that successfully and had it for that long. I feel like we're really making progress here, and I'm actually really surprised. So those two beds are now refreshed, and I've got to work up. My pepper bed has been, that bed's pretty much fine. Now I need to refresh some of these other beds over here. And here we had some spinach, we had squash. So I'm going to probably plant just like actually all of spinach in here. It grew wonderfully, and it was so exciting to have like actual spinach harvest. We stuffed chicken with like cream cheese and our spinach, and you know, put like our tomatoes on top of it. It was so good. We did things like that with the spinach. So I definitely want to keep growing more spinach, because for us it's definitely, for me, it's always been hard to grow, and to finally be able to do it, it's really exciting. And all of these like grow boxes, they're actually on, I just have them on wood pallets. So anytime we see like a deal on wood pallets, or see them on the side of the road and they're like really healthy looking, we pretty much pick them up, because around here, like for our particular property, there are so many uses of wood pallets, and I mean, everybody can benefit from them. There's so many projects that you can do with them in a really affordable way. So these are sitting on wood pallets, and that's a good option if you're somebody who wants to have some type of like a patio garden, but you don't really want to use up your patio, and you want to just instead use like pots and things like that, but you don't want them to be like on the grass. Lay down some wood pallets, and that's going to give you like a nice little structure for free, basically, because you can find wood pallets free everywhere. This next bed is a big mess. There's a lot of really good stuff in it still. I have some of like my purple shooting broccoli, which I don't even know how this hasn't gone to seed yet. It's hanging in there, and the thing about the like brassicas, you can eat the leaves. You don't have to just wait for like the flower, the head of like the broccoli or anything like that. You can start munching on these leaves. So like if you don't have kale or anything like that, it's basically the same thing. It's going to have a really similar flavor. We have our bok choy right here that has gone to seed. So if you're like a new gardener and you're hearing somebody say like, oh, it's gone to seed, or like you're looking at a bok choy, you're looking at a carrot and thinking like, where do I get the seeds from this? Because for me, for a really long time, like it was very perplexing, like where do the seeds come from? A lot of those root vegetables, like cabbage as well, for example. So what happens is they start to bolt. Same thing with like lettuces as well. They will start to bolt. They're not fruiting vegetables, they're root vegetables. And from the bolting root, you'll see these like shoots that will appear, and I'll do close-ups. They'll have like these little, oftentimes yellow flowers on them, and you'll see bees and things like that just loving them. So usually when I have some root vegetables that start to bolt and go to seed, I'll kind of keep them in there for a while, allow the pollinators to enjoy them, and then once it's just exclusively the pods, then I'll rip it out. And in most cases you can actually eat the pods, but just like look up that particular vegetable ahead of time. Oh. And then you're left with the seeds. So like what's in those pods after the pollinators have pollinated that little flower from the root vegetable, I hope I'm explaining this right, I'm doing this on the fly, is a little pod that comes out of the flower. And in the pod is the seeds of that particular plant. So this is like a whole bunch of bok choy seeds in here. I'll do like a little close-up so you guys can see. These aren't 100% ready yet. They're not like black and dark, they're green right now. So I'm gonna keep one in here just to keep marinating and keep growing and have those seeds so I can just save them and not have to buy more seeds. And I'm gonna pull out the rest. Also, if you have one of these root vegetables that's gone to seed and now it's got a whole bunch of seed pods on it, and you have chickens, that is like candy to those chickens. They love that because they love seeds, they love vegetation, all that. So, you know, sometimes some gardeners will allow some things to go to seed or grow things for their chickens, and that's why it's important if you have chickens, you're really cutting down on a lot of waste as well, because sometimes you're growing a whole lot of different things and it's not exactly practical to eat it all, or you might not have the skills to preserve it all or the time to preserve it all. And it's good to know that you can just throw those different types of vegetables to your chickens, have them enriching their eggs and have them be even healthier, and you're really not letting anything go to waste too. So I would definitely suggest having chickens. If you don't have them, they're just awesome little pets. I have parsnips in here. We just had way too much bok choy. Moving out to my no-dig garden rows, which have been absolutely fabulous. I'm obsessed. This has been such a wonderful project because the plants that have grown in here are so healthy. Well, I need to get rid of stuff right now, regardless, but I'm saying this has been so awesome, and I can't wait to continue to expand on the in-ground garden rows. What I wanted to say is you'll notice that our grass is like not been mowed, and it's turning into like no mow May, but that's because our lawnmower is on the fritz right now. So if you're seeing like a whole bunch of craziness around, that's why. So I got to basically everything I have time to get to today, and now I need to start some seeds for some of these like empty beds. There's a lot of empty spaces, which is, you know, lots of opportunity, but still a lot of seeds that need to be started, a lot of new plants. I know I want some more herbs, and I know I want some hotter heat peppers. I have a lot of like sweet peppers right now. That's definitely what we are lacking. So I will show you guys when I do that. Thank you guys for watching. Again, my name is Shelby, and until next time, bye.